from the studios of Adaba 8.9 FM. Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the Roundtable. You know that the most popular and the biggest thing on planet Earth at the moment is coronavirus. No doubt. The word alive, as we knew it, seems to be on hold, and everything, likewise everything, economy, social life, and all of that. At the moment, as at this morning, there are 1,276,300 infections all over the world. Let me break it down for you. In Italy, 128,948 people have been infected, and Italy has recorded 15,887 deaths. While in Spain, 135,023 people have been infected, while 13,055 deaths have been recorded. China has 81,708 infections and 3,331 deaths. In the UK, 47,806 people have been infected, while 4,932 people have died from coronavirus infection. Let's quickly come to the U.S. The U.S. has 337,600 infections as of this morning, while 9,600 people have lost their lives. In Nigeria, at the moment, we recorded 232 infections. 5 people have died. 33 people have recovered. So globally, we have recorded 1,276,300 infections, while 69,500 people have lost their lives to this coronavirus. Oil prices, the prices of crude oil have dipped at the moment, and all over the world it has affected foreign direct investment, especially in developing economies. That is why this afternoon we'll be talking about so many things. We'll talk economy, we'll talk about government's response in Nigeria, for instance, across the states, and then we'll talk about the misinformation that seems to be going on. One of such is the issue of the 5G. It's not only in Nigeria, is raging in other countries as well. People send you audio files and video files telling you 5G is bad, it has something to do with coronavirus and all of that. We'll talk about all of that. Let me quickly, before I welcome my studio guest, yesterday, the leader of the Commonwealth, that is Queen Elizabeth, addressed the Commonwealth. Let's quickly listen to that, and then I will introduce my studio guests. My name is Oladimeji Daniels.
I'm speaking to you at what I know is an increasingly challenging time. A time of disruption in the life of our country. A disruption that has brought grief to some, financial difficulties to many, and enormous changes to the daily lives of us all. I want to thank everyone on the NHS frontline, as well as care workers and those carrying out essential roles, who selflessly continue their day-to-day duties outside the home in support of us all. I'm sure the nation will join me in assuring you that what you do is appreciated, and every hour of your hard work brings us closer to a return to more normal times. I also want to thank those of you who are staying at home, thereby helping to protect the vulnerable and sparing many families the pain already felt by those who have lost loved ones. Together we are tackling this disease, and I want to reassure you that if we remain united and resolute, then we will overcome it. I hope in the years to come, everyone will be able to take pride in how they responded to this challenge. And those who come after us will say the Britons of this generation were as strong as any, that the attributes of self-discipline, of quiet, good-humoured resolve, and of fellow feeling still characterize this country. The pride in who we are is not a part of our past. It defines our present and our future.
Okay, we had, except from the broadcast of the Queen, that is the leader of the Commonwealth, to the UK and the Commonwealth yesterday. Nigeria, of course, is part of the Commonwealth. Let me welcome my studio guests. I have in the studio with me this afternoon, to the content, financial expert, and of course, social commentator, Mr. Oladimeji. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Dimeji.
I also have in studio Mr. Zadok Akintoye. You're welcome on the program.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
And of course, the public relations officer, I hope I'm right, Young Lawyers Forum of the NBA, correct chapter, Mr. I don't seem to remember that name again. Please help me with that. Oladimeji Daniels. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Okay, let me start from Zadok. Okay, maybe I didn't introduce you properly. You are the public secretary of the PDP in Ondo State. So let me do that so that people, whatever you say, people can have a good grasp of where you're coming from. And also, Rotimi is a member of the APC as well. So let me begin from you. Would you say that Nigeria has done well in its response to the COVID-19?
Thank you very much. We have to be very careful at this particular time not to play politics with an issue that is ravaging the entire globe, that has caused many untold hardship on people, has taken the lives of fellow citizens of the world, and that is at present challenging the existence of humanity. As a political party, we are deeply concerned that we probably acted a little bit late, but we have acted as a country at least. And if you look at the instances of the occurrence of this virus, or the start of the occurrence of this virus in our country, it wasn't local. It was brought in by somebody who came into the country.
An Italian.
And so that's where the concern is, that since the pandemic started in China, in Wuhan, in December, we should have had proactive, very deliberate means of ensuring that we mitigate the entry of anybody that is infected.
So you're saying government was late in placing that travel ban?
Government was a bit late in placing that travel ban, a bit indecisive, considering several factors, the impact of that ban on the economy at that time, and so forth. But basically, we think as a political party that we could have done better. We should have immediately there must be measures in place at all times to guard the territorial integrity of the country. Don't forget that this particular virus is like we had war with an unseen enemy. And while we have made preparations to deal with issues like Boko Haram and the rest of it, we seem not to have made enough adequate preparations to deal with this unseen enemy. But by and large, we just feel that the government should have done a little more, the federal government.
Mr. Glare, same question.
Yes, thank you very much.
He said the government was late in shutting down the airport and the borders.
I think he corrected himself.
Okay.
He said the government was
indecisive.
Indecisive.
Okay. Okay, that's the word you would use.
No, don't put words into him.
No, I'm just asking. No.
I think the issue of lateness or indecisiveness is not the case now. What is important
is the government is doing something.
Is the totality of what the government has done. For the very first time, all of us should be ready to give commendation to where it belongs. The federal government has really, in this case of pandemic virus, has really tried in the area of managing the health issue so that it does not degenerate more than what all of us can bear. Imagine if the virus could find its way into our society with the level of our infrastructure, you know what that would mean. The fact that they have tried this much, they deserve our accolade, they deserve our support, they deserve our encouragement. In every civilized society, the citizen, they have the duty to encourage their leaders to always take good decisions. This is not the best of time for us to disparagraph whatever they have done. This is the time for us to encourage them, pray for them, and do the little.
So, but would you say they have done enough?
Well, there cannot be enough until the entire thing is off.
Okay.
They will continue to strive to move from where they are now, to anticipate, to bring in more expertise, provide enough medical and professional explanation procedures that could further safeguard the people from this pandemic scourge. So one will not say they should rest on their hours. One will continue to say that they should do more until the whole thing.
Before this came into Nigeria, a lot of people felt that, let him not come into Nigeria, it's going to be a disaster. But with what you've seen so far, with the efforts of government, both federal and state government, would you say the government has exceeded your expectation in curtailing this?
In truth and honesty, if you want to look at the kind of nation that we run in the past, the kind of the person we are, and our attitude to governance, the attitude of our leaders to prospective preparation against what could cause a devastating effect on us, you would, if you are coming from that background, you would agree with me that they have done more than what would have expected. Honestly, I wouldn't have expected that they would this swiftly respond and take charge. Sincerely speaking, they have done well.
Okay, let me turn to the public relations officer of the Young Lions Forum, Akure chapter. Okay, now let me ask you, a lot of palliative measures have been put in place by the federal government, and a lot of donations are coming in as well. Federal government is also seeking 500 billion COVID-19 intervention fund, which is asking the National Assembly to approve. Now, with what you've seen so far, would you say the government has done well in doling out palliatives? Because government talks about the conditional cash transfer and all of that, but people keep saying we don't know who's getting this money, because nobody around me has said I've gotten this money. So who is getting this money? This money I read in the papers in the nations precisely. The government in Kano alone has given out 1.6 billion naira to 84,000 people.
Thank you. Issue of palliatives and government intervention, we cannot, as at now, determine the level at which the impact has been felt.
Okay.
But we can also determine how responsive and how accommodating these palliatives
have been.
We cannot speculate now that $1 billion has been given out within a week or a day or two. We will come to that later. But now,
government give figures.
Yes,
government give figures.
They've already given figures.
They've told us so and so
and all that.
But what you see on ground and what you've had, what you've seen. Wait just a minute. Yes. What you've seen and what you've had. Yes. Do you think that it correlates with what government says it has doled out?
Nigeria is a society that we cannot, as at now, determine what we have when it comes to identification. And that's been our problem. There is no data in Nigeria that anybody can lay hands on, either from the banks, either from the national identity card, either from the voters card, either from whatever angle we are going to look at it. So if the government has said we have given so and so, well, they have given us the data in the north that this is what they have spent. They have not given us what they have spent in Ondo State. I'm in Ondo State. There is restriction, and whatever we listen on or get from the news, then we have to be aware that it is only government for now, and our duty is not to start querying, but is to see how we can abide and protect ourselves.
You say people should not ask questions about how money is being spent?
I'm not saying
people's commonwealth. It seems that is what you're saying. You're saying our duty is not to ask. You just said our duty is not to ask questions.
Wait,
you just said
take our eyes away
You just said
from the real problem. The real problem is COVID-19.
The part of the real problem is palliative. You should see.
And part of
you
the real
should you should see families that are suffering now. So
that is
what I want to understand is: are you saying that Nigerians don't have any right to ask how their money are being spent?
No. I'm not saying we should not talk about how the money is being spent.
Okay.
But what I'm saying now is that let's not be distracted. Let's ask questions correctly, and let's not put politics into this.
And Nigerians not asking questions correctly by asking who have received this money, who have this money is gone to.
I just said it. We don't have a data in Nigeria, but let's see what the state can put out, either getting from the federal government or from donors, that this is what we have for this state and this is what we are giving. But if the federal government, and that's the problem we have, the federal is too far from the regions and the states. So this is one of the effects that we are getting. If the federal government said they have done this, then let the states who represent us at the SEC to tell us this is what the federal government has given us, and this is what we
I'll come back to you.
So we should attack issues in a systematic way that we will not be distracted.
Okay. Would you like to weigh in? Don't Nigerians have any right to ask questions?
Nigerians have a right to. At the start of this program, we listened to Her Majesty the Queen of England and the head of the Commonwealth, and you saw the passion with which she approached the issue of COVID-19 and raised not just awareness, but raised the mindset of the British citizens to support and thanked people who are in the field working. And so there is this issue of nationhood of England against this rampaging virus. You need to take that back to Nigeria as a nation and then look at the response of government and how has government been able to incite at this critical time the unity of the Nigerian state. And I do understand what the lawyer said, that the authority right now that has that mandate to tell us the impact of a federal government project on our people in Ondo State will be the state government.
I'm not just talking about Ondo State.
Yeah.
Don't let's limit this to Ondo State. I'm talking about Nigeria.
Let's look at Nigeria as a nation.
I'm talking about Ondo State.
The majority of citizens are complaining that federal government said, okay, we spent so much money all of a sudden within a couple of days and nobody is seeing it. I know people who are poor, and I have not met anybody as a public officer. I have not met anybody who has come up to say that they know somebody in the far interior that has received the support from government. Whereas we have evidence of people in the north collecting this money. And so, while we may avoid playing politics at a period of sorrow like this, we still see politics being played or nepotism being played by the federal government. We see instances of maladministration of public funds. We see deliberate actions by government to ensure that there's an imbalance of federal government support to one region as against the other. Because I would have expected, for instance, that these monies that are going to be shared to the poor and indigent in the country would have, if not channeled through the states, because the state has more record of their people, it should have been channeled through agencies where we know what is allocated to each state as palliatives by the federal government. We don't have that. And so at a critical time like this, the federal government seems to be failing. While I understand the position of my dear brother Rotimi Ogunleye as to supporting this government, I think that this government is failing to do what is most needful at this time. It's not just fighting the COVID pandemic. It's also about using this opportunity to unite Nigerians against it. Because look, in Warri, for instance, we saw the videos of the issues between military men and citizens in that place. And I asked a question: do military men in the US and in other developed countries beat their citizens? Or do citizens at a critical time like this rise against their defenders? And so those are key issues that should guide the action of government at all times, because we need to ensure that Nigerians always, irrespective of your location, your tongue and tribe, feel a sense of empathy, a sense of responsibility to government, and also feel that government is being responsible to them. And that's why people are complaining. If I remember when the issue of the closure of the borders came up, and the government, the federal government, did not close our borders, particularly our airport, until the president's daughter came back into the country. And then people began to ask...
Let me ask you a question.
Now, people began to ask, why would you wait till that critical time?
I don't think the president's daughter was the only person outside.
It doesn't matter. But let me
ask you a question. But would you say that Nigerians on their part, would you say Nigerians have played their part well?
Nigerians have
stayed at home.
Look, Nigerians, I live here.
Following all
I live here. There can't be any absoluteness as to people's compliance, because people still have to live. But Nigerians are playing their part because there's a burden to be borne that the federal government cannot bear. Businesses are crumbling. I am a farmer, for instance, and I can tell you that my sector of farming has crumbled as at now.
Fish farming?
Yes, nobody is buying. You have stock in the water. You are feeding
because
them.
You can't go to joint.
You can't go to joint. You can't. The guys that will come to buy are not buying. So I am bearing a burden. He is bearing a burden.
You can't go to joint. You can't do auditing because offices are closed.
So when we say are Nigerians doing enough, Nigerians are doing enough. In the first place, the palliative should not have come, or the idea that government is going to send palliatives should not have come as a reaction. It should have been preemptive. It should have been thought of in the first place that these people are going to stay at home, so we need to take actions. Those actions should not come after people are suffering. Those actions are the reasons why you put intelligent people in government in the first place, because they are supposed to think out what is the implication of this on our nation. What's going to happen to businesses? For instance, how do you expect those who... This is the implication of this COVID-19, the economic implication. People who have not earned money, but still have debts to pay, particularly people whose children are in school, and they've not earned money. How do we find a way of balancing it?
Okay, don't worry. We'll get to the part where we'll talk about economy. Now, let me ask you, like I said at the beginning of the program, donations are coming in for federal government, for state government, people, banks, organizations that donate money. Now, a lot of people have started insinuating, on social media, I see people forming groups saying this money must not be stolen and all of that. Mr. Glare, how would you advise government to go about managing these funds? And then the 500 billion naira COVID-19 intervention fund, what do you think about it?
Unfortunately, like I used to say, we are victims of our bad characters as a people. This is a trying time, quite challenging. Please note that as we are affected individually, the larger economy of the nation is equally affected.
You get to that part.
Then price has crashed to as ridiculous as $22.
Yes.
So,
and some people say it could go as low as $10.
Yes. It means that if the revenue keeps coming down, the overhead of the government is not going down. As a matter of fact, it keeps going increasing because of the perilous time that we are. So if that is the case, we are now going to look at it on the scale of balancing. The people deserve to get palliative. Economy has been so harsh.
Especially those who earn their living on a daily basis.
Yes.
Who don't get salary.
Yeah, the economy has not been friendly. That's the truth. It was never friendly before now. Now that they are now at home, the little they have been able to save, they must have depleted by now. And they will still need to continue to stay at home so that we don't have a bigger problem in our hand. So what does government need to do? I think the government needs to work with the state government.
Okay.
They should have a kind of state palliative committee that, in my own advice, should have maybe the head of service or a senior permanent secretary as the secretary of that committee. Then a special fund that can be opened from which expenditure will be charged against, so that at the end of the whole exercise, you will be able to at least audit or trace or do a kind of post-expenditure audit of that fund. First and foremost, what I'm saying is that They must create front end for it so that it can be traceable, it can be audited, it can be reviewed immediately after the exercise. Secondly, the government should allow states, federal government I mean, should allow the state to handle their respective palliative. Like you have said now, nobody knows who has gotten what, how much government has shared. We couldn't allege them too that they are not sharing money, and maybe they have stolen the money. It not be too good at this time. But we run a system that cannot even, that does not permit the citizen to have an intrinsic confidence in the process. So that is the issue here. That's why I said.
And you can't blame them because over time, that culture has been in place.
Yes, that's why I said this time around they should break it down. When they break it down from the state too, the state should have a kind of mini local government committee that will handle that. It is the people who are closer. It is the government that are closer to the people that can know the really vulnerable families.
No, the federal government.
No. The federal government cannot say that they know the vulnerable family at Ilara or at Jare or at Ajoa.
Okay. Because of our time, because we still have to touch so many things. Let me quickly ask you. One of the things that federal government is proposing is life insurance for health workers, people who are the forefront of this battle against coronavirus. What do you think, Mr. Didwe? Is it a good move? Life insurance for health workers.
Life insurance is good for all Nigerians. So giving to health workers
at this time
is okay, is a boost to them. And presently health workers are at the forefront of the battle, because this is a war, like my friend said, and they are the first person that will be met with whenever you.
They're like the pawns in a game of chess.
Yes. So it cannot be too much. In fact, they need more. They need to be upgraded. Their salaries needed to be seen into. Allowances needed to be seen into. Arrears in whatever form should be seen into, so that they will have that confidence that they are actually working to serve Nigeria and not working to hand a pay.
Well, what about the move that federal government is going to bring in Chinese expert? NMA, Nigerian Medical Association, is seriously against that. I read a statement that they put out saying that they've really done well, and they will even be commended by international bodies, and they don't see reason government should be bringing in Chinese doctors. What do you think about that? Before I come to you, Zado, what do you think about that?
Yes, at this time, like I said, it's not a time to ward off any help.
Okay. But let me quickly say this. There seems to be this distrust, global distrust of China. I was watching CNN last week, and I saw this report that where they say China, it is possible that China did not even disclose the number of infected people in China. That China could have kept down the number, because this thing started last year, and China did not allow anybody to come into the country to study this until February this year. Even world bodies.
There is global diplomacy when it comes to issues within any country, and you cannot blame any country for whatever they are.
I'm just saying that against the backdrop of bringing in Chinese doctors.
Integrity that they have to protect, and if you are blaming them, then it seems you don't know the way to go. The way to go is to find a lasting solution, and we must be ready to collaborate as a single village the world is now. So we should not, it's not a time to appoint blames that it started from you, or you are not telling us the truth, because there has not been any official confrontation. The WHO is there. They have not confronted China and say, China, you are the problem of the world. Any disease can start from anywhere.
Yeah, and that you are.
It's not about where it started. I don't think. Hello. I don't think. Just a minute. I'm the one asking the question. A minute. I'm the one asking the questions. I don't think you understand the import of the question. Nobody is blaming China. I have not said that. I'm saying there is this growing distrust, and it's even on Western media, international media, that China kept down the numbers of people infected in that country. I'm just saying that just a minute. I'm saying that against the backdrop of NMA saying they don't want Chinese doctors in Nigeria.
Like we kept away the health status of our leaders, and we don't know. So we should not play any pranks with this. Let's be factual and face what we have at hand. If people are complaining that China is not telling the world the truth, or they are not telling the number of casualties or deaths or infections, we will get there. But let's solve the problem first.
Okay, Zadok,
I think there's something we need to really underscore. Every developed nation has a nation-first attitude. And even in crisis situation, they look at what's the best scenario of approaching the entire world, even in this crisis. And China has never been known to be
so open.
Yes, to be a big brother to the world. China would rather, if the world collapses and they occupy everywhere, China will be very fine with it that a Chinese man walks the entire surface of the earth. And that's my personal opinion. But I must say something about China. If the US, if Italy, that are the worst hit nations, have not requested for Chinese doctors to come into their country, I don't think, and Nigeria has, at least officially, we have probably.
I think Italy does.
I think
Italy has asked them. I wasn't aware. Now, if in such instances, Cuba, yes, but China, I was a bit skeptical about that. But if in instances like this, Nigeria has probably the lowest or one of the lowest number of infected, at least officially, that has been documented. I don't think going to China would be the right option now. Strengthening what we have here.
You think our doctors can?
I think our doctors, we coped with Lassa fever. Lassa fever is far more dangerous than coronavirus. Lassa kills.
But this one spreads more.
It spreads more, yeah. But Lassa kills in such a very, very terrible way. But we've coped with it. America recently issued a visa, a removal of restrictions on visas to medical doctors. And Nigerian doctors are going to be moving there. I personally have my immediate younger brother working in the NHS in the UK at the forefront in the COVID-19 world. These are Nigerians. And so for somebody, and they are there. They are the ones in charge of these things. And then somebody's telling me that having to bring Chinese doctors here to solve what problem? A problem that we've been able to contain, a problem that we have had state governments like Lagos been able to deal with. I mean, it's not as if we are not being exposed.
Okay, quickly, let me go back to.
I personally don't think China is the option.
Just a minute. Let me go back to him.
Saying our doctors are not competent or we don't even have enough doctors to cope. But what I'm saying that this is a global pandemic, and
that we should seek any
and help should not be disregarded. It's only needed to be screened
properly
and moderated.
Okay.
And also in line with what we have already.
Okay. Because
so they are not coming to take over. They are just coming to also
because of our time.
What they did.
Okay.
That the world is also looking for. No, if you want to know what they did, then you have to talk to them. You have to also.
Okay, Mr. Glenn, I will not let you do that because of our time. Okay, let's look at the responses from state government. I want to talk about Ondo state government. Ondo has shut its borders, has put in place committees recently. I think was that last week, put in fundraising committee, and I think that generated a lot of issues. I read your statement, Zadok, about the composition of that committee. You don't seem to like that, but that's not what we're talking about. In Edo, where we have number of a few number of infected people recorded. I was watching on TV last week. You needed to see how a particular market on Lagos Road in Benin was overcrowded in Benin, and then the Edo State governor was interviewed. Let's quickly listen to part of that interview and what he said.
there were reports that some people in our
the issue of coronavirus, we have to be civil and we have to go from the angle of being public awareness and appealing to our people. We're trying to be careful not to use force, because we discovered that force will not be the order of the day at this time, but to appeal. We had a meeting this morning with Mr. Governor and the task force, and we have asked the security agency to enforce the partial lockdown in the state. Only essential commodities stores should be open, and that we agreed this morning that the law enforcement agency should enforce. We are distributing our sanitizer through the local government and to various palaces, and we have insisted that these sanitizers are free. We have no record of any of them that have been reported to us to be selling, and if we do know, obviously we'll be arrested. Those are just social media discussion. We have no record of anybody or information of any of our staff, because this COVID-19 task force is not just a government thing. It's a collaboration with the religious bodies, with traditional rulers and stakeholders. So we have everybody are represented in this task force. So I think those are just social media discussion. Social distances, to some feel it's just keeping 2 meters from each other. No, social distance that we are enforcing in Edo State has to do with you staying at home, unless it becomes very important that I should leave home, because we want to cut the.
Well, you just listened to the Deputy Governor of Edo State saying that the kind of social distancing they're talking about is not people staying apart, 2 meters or 1 meter, that they want people to stay at home. But that was not the case. Last Friday, the market was filled up. Commercial drivers were working. The buses were filled to the brim and all of that. Some people have said in some states where elections will be coming up this year that the state governors seem to be playing politics, being careful not to step on people's toes. They don't want to keep people at home. They don't want to, even when they make this pronouncement, they don't really follow up on this pronouncement because they are careful. Governors who are looking for, seeking re-election, they are careful not to step on toes because they know that very soon elections will be coming up. What do you think about this, Mr. Rotimi?
Well, more than apart from this time, I think we have had 1 or 2 examples in the past where governors would have to revert a very good policy they have made in their first or second year of their administration.
But this has to do with life.
No.
This is about life.
No, what I'm saying,
the lives of people are at stake.
No, what I'm saying is this. The only difference is that one has a longer impact on our life, the other one has a shorter. If you are talking of health issue now, well, perhaps people will be afraid because if they contact COVID-19, they may die immediately. But what of a governor that made a policy on education in the first and second year of his administration? By the time it gets to 3rd year, because he's looking at second time, he had to revert that policy. That will affect everybody and even have a very dangerous impact on the global view. So it has been there all along. The problem with our leaders is that they are always afraid of 4 years. We don't have leaders who could come to governance, take good decisions, either you like it or not, when you know that it will be for the good of the generality of masses. And if you like to walk away, if they don't vote for you, so be it. If you hold your conscience accountable. This is the problem we are having with the Nigerian leaders. Imagine if COVID-19, just by accident, and in this case, maybe somebody is having that virus already, and this market you talk about, maybe the same person goes there to buy, have interaction with like 5, 6 or 7 persons, and look at the multiplier effect. And don't forget, we don't even have enough laboratory centers where tests could be run and results gotten immediately. So you have so many states will have to get their samples, send outside the state, then wait for results. Imagine what would have happened if the infection has gotten to a terminal stage. So it is a very bad one for the governor of Edo State. It is a very bad one for those who are in charge of enforcing that stay-at-home order of social distancing.
And you'll be shocked that Edo has the number of infections.
Yes, I mean, it can.
Ekiti has only 2, and then Ekiti is on lockdown permanently. So you'll be shocked. You'll be wondering what really was happening.
That's what I'm telling you. That when a leader allows politics to override policy, this is what you get.
It probably shows the failure of the system to properly educate Nigerians. Nigerians have heard about it. It's just like watching a home movie. Nigerians seem not to really have come to terms with this coronavirus. I watched a video of a woman in a village saying, corona. I mean, she didn't even understand the name. So she didn't even understand the implication of this disease. What we need to do, and
I'll tell you, I saw Gani. We hear a lot of things. Even people you would expect should know better.
The markets that are presumed restricted, or the small markets, let's limit it to foodstuff sellers, you still find that the issue of compliance with social distancing and hygiene is not there. There are no absoluteness in this thing. So, but the thing is that we must keep educating the people. Until our people see somebody fall down and die, they don't believe. So we are that generation that has to see.
Okay, because of our time, Mr. Ogunleye, let me quickly ask you this. I said at the beginning of this program that FDI is down. There is a prediction that it's going to decline by 40%. That is foreign direct investment, and of course, this definitely will impede global production networks and supply chains. What advice would you give to government, not just Nigerian government now? What would you advise government to do to check this? Is there anything government can do?
Well, it's very unfortunate that what we have at hand now, there is little or nothing the government can do, because our economy, the way it is, our revenue to our IGR is oil 65%, IGR 35%. Forget about the statistics you have seen here and there. And for now, what will happen from oil has gone down so terribly. There's nothing they could do about that, because it is a global product and the price is determined by global market. So it appears they can't do anything on that. And this is not the best time for government to reduce its expenditure. I think the best the government could do is to, one, make sure that expenditure are incurred on things that would bring direct and positive impact on the people, health related issues, and palliative. And henceforth, freebies should be stopped from government. If we don't stop all of this, it means we will not be able to cut an aspect of our expenditure, which of course have been padded by all of this I'm discussing. Then our IGR, before now, if it has not been brought into a kind of ICT basket where government will be able to collect, account for this revenue in such a way that they will be able to plan on it. All the state government should start to be doing that. If we fail to take it from all other nations who have developed their internal commerce in such a way that they generate revenue from there, which they use to run governance. If we depend largely on this oil of a thing, we may not be able to go beyond now. God forbid, if after this COVID-19, if another global crisis should come up and it affects global products like oil, what do you think will happen to us if we have it in two successions? Knowing fully well that our appropriation act is premised largely on the revenue from oil.
Okay, you would like to
there are two concerns that I wanted to raise initially. At this point, our governments, and I'm talking about all governments, looking at tax exemptions for the citizens, because in this period we are not earning money. So are we expected to still pay taxes? And don't also forget, we've talked about the slump in the global price of crude oil, which means that right now we are selling at about $20 or thereabout.
$22 last time.
$22 or thereabout, which means that we would expect that the impact of the global fall in prices would affect domestic cost of oil at the fuel station. But it's only been marginally reduced, which means that the citizens are still bearing the burden of subsidizing and ensuring that the economy moves.
What you're saying has nothing to do.
The question is,
shouldn't what you're saying has nothing to do with my question. So let's not go.
I'm asking.
He's not the one asking the question. Because of our time, you can't do that. I'll come to you, Mr. Adewale. I'll come to you. Let me quickly ask this one. One of the ways to ensure economic expansion, and one of the ways government does that is to spend, and encourage people to spend. Yeah. But government at this time is encouraging people to stay at home. And when you stay at home, you can't spend. So definitely, and there are already some, behavioral patterns that even when all this is over, it could take, some time for people to get over all of this. Yes. When this is over, what would you advise government, or how would you advise government to go about spending to encourage people to spend so that it could help the economy? Quickly.
Thank you very much. The government at all time is the big spender.
Yeah.
They are spending in area of salary payments. They are spending in area of infrastructure. They are spending in area of provision of grants and aids and all what have you. I think what the government should do immediately allow all of this. One, tax incentive for the period that we have this crisis. Government should grant that and extend it. Number two, window of funding, making funds available to people who want to get back on their business. Government should do that and make sure that it gets to the people that will actually need all these funds. If you leave your business for 1, 2, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, you can be rest assured that when you are coming back, you need 2, 3 months to get starting. So government should make funds available in such a way that the artisans and the low-income earners will be able to access it. Most of farmers whose product they could not bring to the market now, some of them have
people like Zadok. People are not buying his fish.
No, that of Zadok is understandable. Okay. The only cost we incur is cost of feeding them. Okay. What of those perishable agricultural products?
Yes.
That people who harvest now, they can't really take it to the market for sale. Some will have been perished. So government should look for a way of making funds available to these people so that they can go back to their businesses. So this is the area government should focus on. And that is the way I see it.
You want to say something other than sorry?
Yes, the government should just go back to the project Nigeria. Okay. Let's strengthen the economy.
Okay.
The transnational scope should be widened. The SMEs, the micro and macro credits. Then banks should also be approached. Suspension of debt or total
like African finance ministers are asking for debt relief. That's what you're talking about.
And relief. Okay. And it is now that we should understand that continuous dependence on oil or foreign aids alone could not help us.
Yeah. Okay, quickly because of our time, let's talk about misinformation. Love it. The first one came from the U.S. President Donald Trump. Talking about chloroquine, and then the FDA chairman said, chloroquine has not been approved, and there was this back and forth, and some people were even stockpiling chloroquine, and then the issue of 5G, Zadok, is a big one. I just had not do 5 last week, and I was just like, somebody was even asking me whether it was true or not, and I said, This is shocking.
You see, we may not.
What damage do you think misinformation can do at this point? And what should government do?
It's massive.
Should government get really serious about it, about punishing people who are spreading this?
No, it's massive. I think that one of the things I would advise is that people should be made more responsible for that social space they open. For instance, my Facebook page is my Facebook page. And I have a character for every comment I make.
Some people use fake accounts.
They are fake accounts. Obviously, that will not be the best the government will do is to request from Facebook and those who manage
to put the restriction on those.
But it's such a difficult thing because my name is Zadok Akintoye. My name could also be Akintoye Zadok. So it could be anything. So it's a very complex mix. But the best is the moral value of the individual, the quality of what he wants to push out, and how responsible he wants to be. Because I'm very responsible to all comments and posts I make. That's why in instances where I make a wrong comment, it becomes my responsibility to apologize or withdraw it. So people should be made more responsible for what they put online. And those who deliberately flout it should be investigated. Some people call you on your WhatsApp and they try to scam you, and the police has not done anything about that. If you make 2, 3, 4 examples, and people are made to know that when you do this thing, you go to prison.
Yeah. Even for people, not just people who started it, even for people who keep sharing some of these things. I listened to one, and he said, I think the voice of a lady saying that her husband's friend was the pilot who flew President Buhari out of the country. Some of these things, when you listen to them, you're shocked.
It's the responsibility of the police.
Like the issue of the 5G, you know, how low can people get? What do you think government should do, Mr. Ogule?
Yes, like Sadok said, the cyber world is becoming so populated and so prostituted to the extent that you have all manners of people with irresponsible behavior and character coming into the place to flout and to foul public communication etiquette. So what government should do is there are gadgets, there are telecommunication systems through which you can spot on whosoever that posts a particular comment at a particular point in time.
For sharing videos,
yes, either fictitious name or whatever. That is the way security agency can get at such people. Government should intensify effort in this area because this social media of the thing is capable of putting fire into it.
And even making the country lose more lives in the process. People these days tell you eat more garlic, eat more onions, take lime, take lemon, and you wonder, are they doctors?
No, can you imagine?
And they talk about is it pH level of coronavirus or something?
There was a particular one I listened to. I was shocked. The woman, out of ignorance, was telling somebody that, look, if you use hand sanitizer to wash your hand and you are feeling somehow, you can take a sip
of the hand sanitizer.
Our ancestors once believed.
You can take a sip.
Can you imagine? The woman was saying it that you can drink out of it.
Don't forget that in this same earth, our ancestors believed that tools were evil,
Government and media outfits.
You have a responsibility
to be proactive.
But there's a little the traditional media can do.
Not just reactive.
Okay.
Give us
proactive
the correct state of the issues quickly. Don't wait for these guys to overtake
the space.
Yes.
I think government is doing that. I think the media has done that.
So that people.
But there's a little you can do about social media.
It's a business world, and either we like it or not, they are also making money out of this.
Yes.
I saw a particular guy who was doing stimulation with some herbs and some leaves and all. I said, this is the best way to deal with coronavirus. And I was wondering how possible.
See, people, some of the things we are seeing has deep-seated reasons why they are doing it. And people are actually hungry for information and opportunity for expression. And so we need to now channel those energies into positive things. A lot of Nigerians are probably the most brilliant, the most intelligent and smart set of people you'll find anywhere. And so once they don't have an avenue, they do whatever they feel is right for them, and that pleases them.
And some do it out of ignorance. Some out of deliberate wickedness to misinform the masses.
The people. Okay, let me thank you. Our time is fast, but let me thank you, Mr. Zadok Agitoye, Public Secretary of the PDP in Ondo State. Thank you very much for coming.
It's a honor.
The Public Relations Officer of the Young Lawyers Forum, Accra Chapter, Mr. Adiduwe, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Rotimi Ogule, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
My name is Oladimeji Daniels, and this is Destination Point on today's edition of The Roundtable. Good afternoon. Thanks for listening.